昨日表彰式で熱唱した今永昇太選手が早速 MLB 公式番組に出演していました。歌について聞かれていたことと1年目のシーズンについての感想を述べていました。また現在開催中のプレミア12にも記者が派遣されており、現地の日本代表選手の注目選手として高橋宏斗選手の名前が挙がっていました。今日はこれらの内容を翻訳してお届けいたします。ぜひ最後までご覧ください。
Oh, we all like Shota Imanaga, and he joins us now on MLB Tonight from Las Vegas. Edwin, his interpreter, is with us as well. Shota, congratulations. Earlier in the show, we were talking about your performance, singing Go Cubs Go. You've got a very nice voice. Did you enjoy doing that last night?
もっと練習して、いつ歌ってもいいよって言われてもいいように準備します。
It was great. He got into it. He had the arms.
Yeah.
腕を振りながらすごい入り込んでました。
会場を盛り上げたいなと思ってやりました。
Yeah, I wanted to get the crowd going, so.
It was good. It was good. So let me ask you a little bit about pitching here over in the U.S. Did you find it different pitching in the big leagues than what you might have thought about watching it on TV?
そうですね。一番違うなと思ったのは、パワーもスピードもそうなんですけど、やはり守備も上手ですし、で足の速い選手もたくさんいるので、本当に細かいところも、レベルが高いなと思って見てました。
I gotta tell you, Shota, your rotation could be one of the best in the National League next year. What do you make of the teammates you have in that 2025 Cubs rotation?
本当にみんな参考になるような、そういう投手が並んでいますし、今年はヘンドリックス選手と一緒にやりたいってことがものすごく僕としてはいい1年目になったと思います。
So we've seen now a lot of Japanese pitchers come over and do well. What are they teaching in Japan that is maybe not being taught here?
日本でも日本の野球はやはり低めを丁寧に投げなさいというふうに教わってきて、僕は高めをメインとして今年配球がありましたけど、でも大事なのは低めのボールも大事なんだなっていうのは確認できました。
So last question, I want to ask you about Sasaki. Talking about him coming over here. You've been around him enough. You've seen him enough. Give me a breakdown. Give me a game plan on him. What do you see from this young man?
彼とはWBC でも一緒にやりましたし、彼と一緒に同じチームじゃないですけどもシーズンを過ごしてきたので、160キロを投げられて、であれだけ落差の大きいフォークを投げられるっていう選手は世界で見てもあまりいないので、すごくいい成績を残すんじゃないかなと思います。
While you were watching something else, maybe you were watching the Eagles-Commanders game, but if you were like us, you were locked in on this second annual All-MLB presentation from Las Vegas with all the star power. Candelita sang. Mookie Betts was there. Blue Man Group, awards presented, and we'll go through it all for you in case you missed any of the proceedings. So congratulations to the first team All-MLB recipients. This we pulled off social media, obviously, from MLB.com. Pitchers and hitters first representing the American and National Leagues. First team. This is the first team group. Here's the second team group. It's really weird when you see names like Bryce Harper, Francisco Lindor not with first team honors, but you get it. Like, these are the best of the best of the best. And congratulations to everybody who won an award last night.
Well, considering how the schedule is, it should be more like this, right? Everyone plays everyone nowadays, as opposed to the day when the National League and American League were so separate.
Yeah, that's true. You know, at catcher, Salvador Perez was second team honoree there. I think, like, as an exercise, you could go back on the first and second teamers that we learned of last night and try to guess about their Hall of Fame candidacy. Like, there's certain guys who are locks. Right. I think Sal Perez is a lock. I think Bryce Harper's a lock. I think Manny Machado's, like, those guys are easy ones to identify. Mookie Betts, like, you can make a case for more than half the names last night being future Hall of Famers.
When I think of Salvador Perez and his long career now, you know what's interesting is that when he first started, he was defense first, kind of see if his bat was going to, be enough someday. And now he's as good of offensive players as anyone in the game.
And for that big-bodied dude to has played as long as he has.
And every day.
And post up every day.
Yeah.
It's amazing. You know who really posted up last night? And, watching this was a lot of fun because Roy Wood Jr., who hosted, he was the MC, he had amazing material last night. It's not an easy thing to write and deliver material for a niche audience, right? He had to create baseball content. You couldn't go to race, gender, profanity, like all the stuff that stand-up comics find for a laugh. Couldn't do any of that stuff.
I mean, unless players have completely changed from when I played, these are the guys that worked so hard to be a ball player because they didn't want to pay attention. You know what I mean? And now you put them all in one room, and you have this brilliance of Wood.
Yeah, and he nailed it with all these constraints on him, right? I mean, it's not easy to deliver that way. You couldn't work even remotely blue last night, and he was great. So take a listen to some of Roy's stuff last night.
The Dodgers are hands down one of the most unhateable teams of all time. I don't know how you could hate this team. All they did was smile. Everybody was smiling. Freddie Freeman was smiling. He only had one good foot. Shohei was smiling. He only had one good shoulder. Mookie was smiling. He almost only had one hand. You just can't hate him. You got to love him. And Mookie Betts is in the building tonight. Give it up for Mookie Betts, an incredible athlete. An incredible athlete. He can play infield. He can play outfield. The brother can dunk. The brother can bowl. I don't know if y'all knew this about Mookie. He is the only person in this room that has bowled a perfect game. That is true. He has bowled a perfect game. You can clap for that. Yeah, a perfect game. 12 strikes. 12 strikes right down the middle, which was also the Yankees' approach to pitching Freddie Freeman.
I mean, that's such good material.
That's a great line. That's a great line.
Audience, man. What would they do? I mean, you got to laugh. You got to give the guy, yeah, come on. This is good stuff. And they're,
I mean, I know the late.
Did they freaking hand out lithium when they entered?
The late, great Norm Macdonald would have never been able to get through this crowd. No chance. And Roy was great last night. I listened as well, and I was really laughing. But I think that what happens with ball players is that they're a little paranoid when they mention their name, that they're coming at me, and what are they going to say? And then once they figure out it's not too bad, then they laugh, which is too late to laugh. You have to laugh.
You know what? I think that's a good take. And like a lot of invited guests probably felt like it was an award show, so you had to be proper and you had to sit there. But man, he deserved more from that audience, and he was great. So when you watch it on tape like we did, it's even better. All right, let's also talk about the comeback player of the year that were named last night as well, which no surprise that Chris Sale got the honors here. I think there was a little surprise over Garrett Crochet because there were some other candidates. I mean, both well-deserved honors, guys that have come back from significant health issues to dominate at their craft. Congratulations to the comeback players of the year.
Well, what's interesting about both, they both wore the uniform, right? Crochet presently with the White Sox, and Sale, that's where he began. Sale from 2021 to 2023 only pitched 150 innings, 29 starts. So he beat all of that last season. And then Crochet, remember, he missed all of 2022 with Tommy John, 12 innings in 2023. And then last year, they were in a kind of a strange place, right? He was so good in the
market may have existed for him in July, but those talks have certainly opened up again, and I think the White Sox could restock nicely if and when they find the right deal for a really prized pitching commodity. So the All-MLB show is over, and everybody's traveling back here, but they had the big night. You know, when you're involved in a show like that, there's the exhale after the performance, and everybody feels good about themselves, and you go out and you tear up the town, or you just sit there and gobble down a steak, whatever.
It becomes kind of like the holiday Christmas party, where the people get a little over their skis.
All right, welcome into the Hot Stove Record Store, and this is a segment that we've kind of rolled into this year, where Keith, Ron, and I will discuss potentially record-setting performances of next year, record-setting performances of years past, and maybe do some speculating, Keith, on whether or not new records will be scratched at.
Yeah, full disclosure, Maddie, records is may be a little bit of a loose term here. I'll pull back the curtain a little bit. It's a device to get these animations in, but they are historic, potential historic moments from next year. We'll start here with Carlos Santana. Now, guys, the question is, will he qualify for the batting title for a 15th straight year? You take a look at this list. Pretty impressive, the guys that have pulled that off most recently. You have to go to a guy named Derek Jeter. I'm sure you're familiar with his work. But, guys, the question we're really asking here is, what kind of job will Santana find in free agency? Will he play every day like he has throughout basically his whole career? Or do you see him as more of a specialist platoon-type bat? He did have the best numbers of his career against left-handed or right-handed pitching last year, rather. So could see it going either way. Where do we see a guy like Santana landing?
Why wouldn't it happen again? Keith, you know what happens, though, with Santana the last 5 seasons or so? Is he's always signed as that guy.
Yep.
He was only going to play part-time, and the next thing you know, he does so well that he's out there every day.
I would say yes as well. I mean, you need, 502 at-bats to qualify for a batting title.
And he was close to 600 last year. It wasn't close.
Yeah, and a lot of it has to do with where and under what circumstances he finds an employment deal. Like, if it's to back up a young first baseman, maybe. But if it's to go be the guy, and look, I think most of the money is going to go to the 2 guys that we talked about last segment in Alonso and Walker, and there's probably a chair for Santana to get 500 at-bats somewhere else.
Santana, when he's 40 years old, 50 years old, he could come out of bed and have a 400 on base. That's the kind of hitter he is.
So we say a resounding yes to that one.
And a first-time Gold Glove winner, guys, this year at 39 years old. Pretty impressive. All right, this next one, guys, could have been in the last segment. We'll put him here, Alex Bregman. Will he become the Astros' all-time leader in games played at third base? That would happen next year if he returned to the only home he's known in Houston.
Wow, I'm not so convinced on this one. I think there are other suitors out there for him. First of all, who knew that Doug Rader held that franchise record?
Yes, that's right.
Not I, because that next question was going to be, is it Caminiti? I mean, Sean Barry wasn't there long enough. Like, they've had a lot of people that spit through there. Doug Rader, the all-time games played leader at third in Astros history. If I had to say yes or no, I'm going to say no, because I think that somebody's going to come along with a bigger price tag and lure him out of there. That's my guess.
Yeah, I feel the same way, and I think his versatility is saying that he'd play third base as well as second base makes even more of a target for some teams. So I'm thinking he doesn't go back to Houston, because if he was, he would have been signed already.
I'll also say this. I mean, he's a stud.
Yeah,
and it would be cool to see him begin and end in Houston. I just think someone's going to pay him more to leave there.
I'm with you guys on both fronts. Would love to see him stay. Think he's probably gone. All right, this next guy already has a home. We've seen him moving around a lot in recent years. That's Luis Arraez. Matty, we already talked about Las Vegas here. Are we taking Arraez or the field to win yet another batting title? He would be tied for the second longest streak of batting titles in the history of the game if he got a 4th straight in 2025.
You can't take the field. You got it. Arraez is the guy.
Yeah.
He is our generation's Boggs Gwynn character. And I don't know that, look, I think it's changing a little bit in that the launch angle guys and the 3 true outcome guys aren't as prevalent as they were, say, 8 to 10 years ago. We're getting back to putting a premium on batting average because of the shift rules and the way hitting is being taught. But I still think that Arraez is the best of the best. And the way this guy can manipulate the bat and just serve a little flare into the outfield for a knock, he wins a batting title for me.
He's in a perfect time for his skills to succeed the way they're succeeding, and batting titles is going to be more in his future. And what I would love to hear, because Keith would hit me with your best shot, is Luis Arraez asking who Pat Benatar is. That would be pretty funny.
I also like the fact that you chose the Luis Arraez at the red carpet parade photograph, wearing the street gear.
Yes. Very hip, very current on this show, Matty. All right, the next one here, guys, Shohei Ohtani. It seemed like a ridiculous question just a year ago. Will he join the 200-200 club this year, which would make him the second fastest player to that total? He basically would have to replicate his stolen base total from last year to do this, guys. My question before we get to the actual question at hand with Ohtani, do we know who the first player on this list is? The fastest ever to 200-200. If Ohtani did it this year, it would be the only player faster than Shohei.
Debuted in 1999.
Wow.
That goofs me up a little bit.
Debuted in this market. That'll give you a little clue.
debuted in this market in 1999.
Later played for the Cubs and Nationals.
Alfonso Soriano.
Alfonso Soriano, if
There you go.
Ohtani was to do it this year, would be the only player to get to these numbers faster. So like I said, guys, 55 stolen bases for Ohtani would get him there. Can he replicate his base stealing total from this past season?
That's a great board and a really great threshold. I'm going to say no, because if he's pitching again next year, he better not be running as much. And I also think this. Ohtani's a kind of been there, done that brain. He wanted to be the first one to get this 50-50. He put up this massive, gargantuan season. If he's pitching again next year, it changes the calculus, and I sure hope he's not running as much.
Yeah, I don't think he's running as much either. It's hard to bet against him because every time you do, he hits the mark. But I don't think he's going to reach that mark. But knowing the player that Shohei is, he's probably aiming for MVP and Cy Young in the same season.
Yeah, I think that's totally in play. Keith, that's good stuff, man. We appreciate the work you did on the record store stuff, scratching at that and finding the right stuff to talk about.
I see what you did there.
JP Morosi from Taiwan. Looks like you've actually toweled off since you filed that report, JP. Good evening to you.
Good evening, konbanwa, I would say, based on the winning team tonight with Team Japan. And just by way of background, and Ronnie and Matt, you could both appreciate this. That team that was practicing there in Tam Shui, the district in the far northwest part of the island of Taiwan, they were working on first and third drills, which is just one of the most essential things that any youth baseball team has ever worked on. And I went to literally the edge of the country, and that is what I saw.
Fundamentals. We'll get that tape out to Buck Showalter immediately for approval. Hey, let's ask you about the game that you just got through watching. Japan and Korea. How'd it go down?
Japan wins 6-3, their sixth straight win over Korea at the senior men's level, including the Premier 12, WBC, and Olympics. And the man that a lot of scouts came here to see tonight, he delivered. Hiroto Takahashi. He actually revamped his mechanics last winter to look even more like Yoshinobu Yamamoto. Probably a smart thing considering Yamamoto signed with the Dodgers for $325 million. So clearly that play is in America. What we saw it, of course, in the World Series, but he delivered 8 strikeouts and 0 walks. And for the night, we talk about why Samurai Japan always wins these big international tournaments. How about this, Ronnie? 17 strikeouts for Japan, 0 walks issued. 17 to 0. Meanwhile, I'll take myself to this story. You mentioned Team USA going to break. Team USA is going to meet me in Tokyo for the Super Round because the Americans have made it, and they went to 43-year-old Rich Hill to start the game that found Team USA past Team Mexico. How about this? Look at Rich Hill's numbers in that crucial game. 3 1/3 innings, 0 earned runs. He started twice, and don't you love this? In this era of innings restrictions and can you start on regular rest, Rich Hill says, I'm 43, give me the ball. And he's a free agent, by the way. I think some teams are looking at him for 2025, but right now he's most concerned with winning a gold medal for Team USA with some help for some players on the younger side of the age curve. How about this? Tamar Johnson, along with the veteran Rich Hill, has put Team USA along with Team Venezuela into the final round. So it's 4 teams that make it total. 2 from the group in Mexico, which are the U.S. and Venezuela, and 2 from this group here in Taipei. Right now, Japan is 2-0. Chinese Taipei is 2-0. So they have the edge now entering the weekend.
Good stuff. We appreciate the updates on all this stuff. And let's hit you with what's happening on the free agent market. And I'm going to list off 3 players who are big ticket items and who I believe you have at least some bits of update on each. And in order, Willy Adames, Walker Buehler, Christian Walker. Go.
All right. I'm ready with updates. Here we go. Willy Adames, interest in him is very broad. There's a number of teams that love him at shortstop, and why wouldn't you? But also some that might consider him in a different position. We could see the Dodgers, the Giants, the Yankees, the Astros, if they don't re-sign Bregman. I love that idea, by the way. You put Adames potentially at third, Pena at short, Altuve at second. I would love that infield. The Braves are involved, I'm told, the Red Sox and the Toronto Blue Jays, who we know, we've heard plenty about their link to Juan Soto. They want to get a major free agent. Now, I just talked about potentially the Braves being involved in Adames. They also have some interest, I'm told, in Walker Buehler. Think about their pitching staff right now. Max Fried, free agent. Charlie Morton, free agent. Spencer Strider still coming back from elbow surgery. So for all these reasons, Walker Buehler, who we just saw shining in the postseason, the Braves are close to home for him. Of course, he's got the Kentucky roots. He pitched at Vanderbilt. It's a nice fit for him. I'd also mention the Chicago Cubs being a possibility for Walker Buehler. They're, of course, the final pitch of the World Series at Yankee Stadium. And then you consider as well the other possibility. We talked about Christian Walker. I like him as a possibility for the aforementioned Yankees, whether or not they re-sign Juan Soto. And I think in some ways, Matt and Ron, there is even broader interest right now in Christian Walker relative to Pete Alonso, because the contract's going to be probably fewer total dollars and fewer years. He's also an elite Gold Glove defender at first base. And so if let's say Juan Soto signs with the New York Yankees, or even let's say if Pete Alonso signs elsewhere, I could see the Mets pivoting and loving it, the fact that they could potentially get Christian Walker. Look at those numbers: 26 homers, 84 RBI. In terms of an elite level defender in his early to mid 30s, he is one of the better corner infield defenders that we have seen in the game in recent years. And I would actually add the Seattle Mariners to that list too. They thought that maybe Mitch Garver was the answer for them at first base. Carlos Santana's got a pretty good resume in free agency right now as well. He wants to play still another couple seasons at least. So while we focus a lot on Pete Alonso, some good options are out there if you want to look elsewhere.
You know, JP, we ask so much of you, but the Red Sox last night met with Juan Soto. Did any of that news reverberate all the way to Taiwan?
So it wasn't something that was leading the Taipei, the new Taipei Times, which is the English language paper here, and plenty about the Premier 12. But what I'll say to you about Juan Soto is this: I like the fact that we talk about different options that exist here, that the Red Sox are involved, the Blue Jays are involved. The fundamentals here still tell me he's going to play in New York for either the Yankees or the Mets. And here is why I believe these meetings are important to talk about, and why the Soto conversations with the Red Sox or the Jays are noteworthy. He is not the only free agent that Scott Boras has this offseason. And so whether or not the conversation ends up being about Soto, he's still, in terms of Scott Boras, he's still the same agent for a Corbin Burns, for Blake Snell, for any number of high-end position players. Pete Alonso is one more. So when you're sitting down with Juan Soto, let's not forget you're also sitting down with someone who represents 6 or 7 of the top 12 free agents in the industry right now. So I do think it's good for the Red Sox. They're having that conversation. And I'll say this about where the Red Sox fit into all of this. The Red Sox have their other franchise cornerstone guy in Rafael Devers signed long-term. The Blue Jays don't, with Vladdy. And so that's the one piece of this with Toronto that just gives me pause. If Soto signs with the Jays, hypothetically, what do we know about where Vladdy's future is and where he might go a year from now? Do they have enough money to sign them both? With the Red Sox, at least we know that Rafael Devers is already signed under contract. I think that makes the Red Sox a little more appealing from a standpoint of how their lineup construction works, because they've got their other guy there long term.
Perhaps a more serious suitor. JP, when we visit with you on Monday, where will you be?
I will still be here in Taiwan. It'll be my final day there before I hopefully join the rest of this amazing traveling party heading over to Tokyo for the Super Round. And I hope to have, by the time we talk on Monday, some video of Samurai Japan taking infield practice, which is like watching a combination of the Harlem Globetrotters and the best ballet you've ever seen in your life.
Awesome. We look forward to that. JP, have a great weekend out there. Enjoy the rest of the tournament, and we'll talk to you on Monday.
Thanks so much. All the best.
今永選手の歌の練習の話は面白かったですね。そして低めを大事にすることは日本野球の特徴として話していましたが、丁寧なコントロールは世界の舞台でも十分に武器になるということでしょう。プレミア12にも注目が集まっており、日本でのスーパーラウンドはこのままいくと日本、台湾、アメリカ、ベネズエラの4カ国となりそうですね。今夜の台湾との対決も楽しみです。それでは次回の動画でお会いしましょう。さようなら。